Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Yogah Karmasu Kaushalam.
Script 25 Depository. Dear viewers, I am CS Dr. Yashru Dikshit. In today's session, I am going to discuss the introduction about depository, benefits of depository system, an overview of depository system, models of depository, depository participant, and legal framework of depository. So viewers, by the end of this session, you would be able to understand. Number 1, to understand the introduction about depository. Number 2, to know about the benefits of depository system. Number 3, to understand the overview of depository system. Number 4, to know about the models of depository and depository participants. Number 5, to understand the legal framework of depository. Now, let's discuss about the introduction of depository. A depository is an organization like a central bank where the securities of a shareholders are held in the electronic form at the request of the shareholders through the medium of a depository participant. To utilize the services offered by a depository, the investor has to open an account with the depository through a depository participant. According to Section 2E of the Depositories Act 1996, depository means a company formed and registered under the Companies Act 2013 and which has been granted a certificate of registrations under Section 12(1)(a) of SEBI Act 1992. A depository cannot act as a depository unless it obtains a certificate of commencement of a business from SEBI. There are two depositories functioning in India, namely the National Securities Depository Limited (NSDL) and the Central Depository Services India Limited (CDSL). Under the provisions of the Depositories Act, these depositories provide various services to investors and other participants in the capital market, such as clearing members, stock exchanges, investment institutions, banks, and issuing corporates. This includes basic facilities like account opening, dematerializations, settlement of a trade, and advanced facilities like pledging, distributions of non-case corporate actions, distributions of securities to allottees in case of public issue, etc. All the securities held by a depository shall be dematerialized and shall be in a fungible form. To utilize the services offered by a depository, the investor has to open an account with the depository through a participant, similar to the opening of an account with any of the bank branches to utilize services of that bank. Registrations of the depository is required under SEBI Depositories and Participants Regulations 1996 and is a precondition to the functioning of the depository. Depository and depository participant both are regulated by SEBI. Now we will discuss difference between depository and custodian. Both depository and custodial services are responsible for a safekeeping of a securities, but they are different in the sense that the depository can legally transfer beneficial ownership, which a custodian cannot. The main objective of a depository is to minimize the paperwork involved with the ownership, trading, and a transfer of securities. Now we will discuss benefits of depository system. In the depository system, the ownership and a transfer of securities takes place by means of electronic book entries. At the outset, this system rides the capital market of the dangers related to handling of paper. The system provides numerous direct and indirect benefits like elimination of bad deliveries. In the depository environment, once holdings of an investor are dematerialized, the question of bad delivery does not arise. That is, they cannot be held under objection. In the physical environment, buyer of a shares was required to take the risk of a transfer and face uncertainty of the quality of assets purchased. In the depository environment, good money certainly begets good quality of assets. Next, elimination of all risk associated with physical certificates. Dealing in physical securities have associated security risk of theft of stocks, mutilation of certificates, loss of certificates during movements through and from the registers, thus exposing the investors to the cost of obtaining duplicate certificates and advertisements, etc. This problem does not arise in the depository environment. Next, immediate transfer and registration of securities. In the depository environment, once the securities are credited to the investor's account on a payout, he becomes a legal owner of the securities. There is no further need to send it to the company's register for a registration. Having purchased securities in the physical environment, the investor has to send it to the company's register so that the change of ownership can be registered. This process usually takes around 3 to 4 months and is rarely completed within the statutory framework of 2 months, thus exposing the investor to opportunity, cost of delay in a transfer and to risk of a loss in a transit. To overcome this, the normally accepted practice is to hold the securities in a street names, that is, not to register the change of ownership. However, if the investors miss a book closure, the securities are not good for a delivery and the investor would also stand to lose his corporate entitlements. Next, faster disbursement of non-cash corporate benefits like rights, bonuses, etc. Depository system provides for a direct credit of a non-cash corporate entitlements to an investor's account, thereby ensuring faster disbursement and avoiding risk of a loss of a certificates in a transit. Next, reduction in a brokerage by many brokers for trading in a dematerialized securities. Brokers provide this benefit to investors as a dealing in dematerialized securities reduces their back office cost of handling paper and also eliminates the risk of being the introducing broker. Reduction in handling of huge volumes of papers and periodic status reports to investor on their holdings and transactions, leading to better controls. Next, elimination of problems relating to change of address of investor, transmission, etc. In case of change of address or transmission of demat shares, investors are saved from undergoing the entire change procedure with each company or a register. Investors have to only inform their DP with all relevant documents and the required changes are effected in the database of all the companies where the investor is a registered holders of a securities. Next, elimination of problems related to selling securities on behalf of a minor. A natural guardian is not required to take court approval for selling demat securities on behalf of a minor. Next, depository system and overview. The depository system functions very much like the banking system. A bank holds funds in accounts, whereas depository holds securities in accounts for its clients. A bank transfers funds between accounts, whereas depository transfers securities between accounts. In both systems, the transfer of funds of securities happens without the actual handling of funds or securities. Both the banks and the depositories are accountable for the safekeeping of funds and the securities respectively. In the depository system, share certificates belonging to the investors are to the dematerialized and their names are required to be entered into the records of depositories as beneficial owners. Consequent to this change, the investor's name in the company's registers are replaced by the name of depository as a registered owner of the securities. The depositories, however, does not have any voting rights or other economic rights in respect of the shares as a registered owner. The beneficial owner continues to enjoy all the rights and benefits and is subject to all the liabilities in respect of the securities held by depository. Shares in the depository mode are fungible and cease to have distinctive numbers. The transfer of ownership changes in the depository is done automatically on the basis of delivery versus payment. In the depository mode, corporate actions such as IPO, rights, conversions, bonus, mergers, amalgamations, subdivisions and consolidations are carried out without the movement of paper, saving both cost and time. Information of beneficiary owners is readily available. The issuers gets information on changes in shareholding pattern on a regular basis, which enables the issuer to efficiently monitor the changes in shareholdings. The depository systems links the issuing corporates, depository participants and the depositories, the clearing corporations, clearing house of stock exchanges. This network facilitates holding of securities in this soft form and effects transfer by means of accounts transfer. Following presentation about depositories reveal all about depositories, its concept and trading, that is models of depositories, depositories functions, legal linkage, depository participants, registers and issuers, dematerializations, electronic credit in a new issue, trading system, corporate action. Now we will discuss models of depository. Immobilization, where physical share certificates are kept in a wallets with the depository for a safe custody. All subsequent transactions in these securities take place in a book entry form. The actual owner has a right to withdraw his physical securities as and when desired. The immobilization of a fresh issue may be achieved by issuing a jumbo certificate representing the entire issue in the name of depository as nominee of the beneficial owners. Next one, dematerialization. No physical script in existence, only electronic records maintained by depositories. This type of a system is a cost effective and simple and has been adopted in India. Dematerialization is a process by which the physical share certificate of an investor are taken back by the company and equivalent number of securities are credited his account in electronic form at the request of the investor. An investor will have to first open an account with the depository participants and then request for a dematerialization of his share certificate through the depository participants so that the dematerialized holdings can be credited into that account. This is very similar to opening a bank account. Dematerialization of shares is optional. An investor can still hold shares in a physical form. However, he and she has to demit the shares if she wishes to sell the same through the stock exchanges. Similarly, if an investor purchases shares from the stock exchange, he and she will get delivery of the shares in a demat form. Odd lot share certificates can also be dematerialized. Depository functions: account opening, dematerializations, rematerialization, settlement, initial public offers, corporate benefits and pledging. Now we will discuss depository participant. Just as the brokers act an agent of the investor at the stock exchange, a depository participant is the representative agent of the investor in the depository system, providing the link between the company and investor through the depository. The depository participants maintain securities account balances and intimate the status of holding to the account holder from time to time. According to SEBI guidelines, Financial institutions like banks, custodians, stockbrokers, etc. can become participants in the depository. A DP is a one with whom an investor needs to open an account to deal in shares in electronic form. While depository can be compared to a bank, DP is like a branch of that bank with which an account can be opened. The main characteristics of a depository participants are as under: act as an agent of depository, customer interface of depository, function like securities bank, account opening, facilitates dematerialization, instant transfer on a payout, credits to investor in an IPO, right, bonus, settles trades in electronic segment, registrar and issuer, dematerialization, confirmation of beneficiary holdings, corporate actions, right, bonus, etc., reconciliation of depository holdings, rematerializations. Next, dematerialization. Investor open account with DP, files dematerialization request form DRF for registered shares. Investor lodges DRF and certificates with DP. DP intimate the depository, depository intimate registrar and issuer. DP sends certificates and DRF to registered issuer. Registered issuer confirms demat to depository, depository credits investor account. Rematerialization. Client submits rematerialization request form RRF to DP. DP intimates depositories. Depository intimates the registrar issuer. DP sends RRF to the registrar issuer. Registrar issuer prints certificates and sends to investor. Registrar issuer confirms remit to depository. Investor's account with DP debited. Next, electronic credit in new issues. Investor opens account with DP, submit application with the option to hold securities in depository, giving DP ID and a client ID. Registers uploads list of allottees to depositories. Depository credits allottees accounts with DP. Refunds sent by registrar as usual. Next, trading system. Separate codes in a book entry. Trading member to have a clearing account with DP. Settlement as per settlement calendar of stock exchange. Trading can be introduced in any stock exchange if settlement is guaranteed. Next, corporate actions. Dividend, cash benefits. These benefits are directly forwarded to the investors by the company or its registrar and transfer agent. Next, non-cash benefits, which is bonus, right issue, etc. These benefits are electronically credited to the beneficial owner's account through depository. Next, legal framework of depository. The legal framework for a depository system has been laid down by the Depositories Act 1996 and is regulated by SEBI. The depository business in India is regulated by the Depositories Act 1996, the SEBI Depositories and Participants Regulation 1996, Bylaws of Depositories, Business Rules of Depositories. Apart from the above, depositories are also governed by certain provisions of the Companies Act 2013, the Indian Stamp Act 1899, the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act 1992, Securities and Contract Regulations Act 1956, Benami Transactions Prohibition Act 1988, Income Tax Act 1961, Bankers Books Evidence Act 1891. The legal framework for depository system in the Depositories Act 1996 provides for the establishment of single or a multiple depositories. Any body to be eligible for providing depository services must be formed and registered as a company under the Companies Act 2013 and seek registration with SEBI and obtain a certificate of commencement of business from SEBI on fulfillment of the prescribed condition. The investors opting to join the depository mode are required to enter into an agreement with depository through a participant who acts as an agent of depository. The agencies such as custodian, banks, financial institutions, large corporate, brokerage firms, non-banking financial companies, etc. act as the participants of depositories. The companies issuing securities are also required to enter into an agreement with the depositories. Bylaw of a depository. Section 26 deals with the powers of depository. To make bylaw, depository is required to frame its bylaw with the prior approval of SEBI. consistent with the provision of the Act and the regulations made by SEBI thereunder. SEBI has, however, the power to direct the depository to amend or revoke any bylaws already made, whenever it is considered expedient to do so. If a depository fails or neglects to comply with the directions of SEBI, SEBI may make the bylaws or amend or revoke the bylaws on its own. Contents of the bylaws. As per subsection 2 of section 26 of the Act, the bylaws of a depository would include the eligibility criteria for admission and removal of securities in the depository, the conditions subject to which the security shall be dealt with, the eligibility criteria for admission of any person as a participant, the manner and procedure for dematerialization of securities, the procedure for transactions within the depository, the manner in which securities are to be dealt with or withdrawn from a depository, the procedure for ensuring safeguards to protect the interest of the participants and beneficial owners, the conditions of admission into and withdrawal from a participant by a beneficial owner, the procedures for conveying information to the participants and beneficial owners on a dividend declaration, shareholders meetings and other matters of interest to the beneficial owners, the manner of distribution of dividends, interest and monetary benefits received from the company among beneficial owners, the manner of creating pledge or hypothecation in respect of securities held with the depository, inter se rights and obligation among the depository issuer, participants and beneficial owners, the manner and the periodicity of furnishing information to SEBI, issuer and other persons, the procedure for resolving disputes involving depository, issuer company or a beneficial owner, the procedure for proceeding against a participant committing breach of the regulations and provision for suspension and expulsion of participants from the depository and the cancellation of agreements entered with the depository, the internal control standards including procedure for auditing, reviewing and monitoring. So friends, let us summarize this session. We discuss number 1. A depository is an organization like a central bank where the securities of shareholders are held in electronic form at the request of the shareholder through the medium of a depository participant. Number 2. In the depository system, the ownership and the transfer of securities takes place by means of electronic book entries. Number 3. Dematerialization is a process by which the physical share certificates of the investor are taken back by the company and equivalent number of securities are credited his account in electronic form at the request of the investor. I hope this session would have made your introduction about depositories, benefits of depository system, an overview of depository system, models of depository, depository participants and legal framework of depository very clear. I hope you have enjoyed this session. Thank you.